Damian Collins.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Nationality and Borders Bill is important and necessary legislation to address the growing problem of illegal entry into the UK by migrants crossing the Dover Straits. Last year in 2020, more than 8,500 people made such a journey in small vessels. 87% of them were men, 74% were aged 18 to 39. This year, over 8,000 have already completed the trip, including a record number in a single day of 430, and that was yesterday. For residents on the Kent coast, including in my constituency, it has become a fact of life that when the weather is good and the sea is calm, hundreds of undocumented asylum seekers will attempt to cross the channel in small boats. We need to be clear that illegal crossings of the channel are dangerous and cost lives. In recent years, migrants have died whilst being smuggled in lorries. There have been deaths from people trying to walk through the Channel Tunnel, and there have been drownings at sea from people trying to make it across the channel in small boats. We cannot allow this to continue. No country would allow this to continue or should. The government has made substantial investments, along with the French authorities, to improve security at the port of Calais and the Channel Tunnel, making it much harder for people to gain illegal entry there. Improved patrolling along the French coast has led to the successful detection of many people as they attempt to make their crossing, but before their vessel enters the water. Now, some people have called for vessels to be intercepted at sea, and I think wrongly suggested that vessels are just being escorted across the channel by the French authorities or by our own. I think that is not the case. Vessels need to be intercepted before they get into the water, as interception at sea is dangerous if the migrants on the vessels are not cooperating with the authorities. We, of course, cannot patrol in French waters and are reliant on the French authorities to do that. Of course, it would be much better if they could do that just as those vessels leave French waters. When returning to France would be easier, but we have no means to patrol in their waters. I would like to say, though, that excellent work has been done at sea when it has been needed by the Border Force, and most importantly, I think, a group of people I would like to thank, who are the volunteer lifeboatmen working for the RNLI at the lifeboat stations from Dungeness in my constituency round to Dover, who are now regularly called out to assess people in distress at sea. Pasquale Moreau, the European Director of the UNHCR, said a couple of years ago that our collective response to this problem should be comprehensive and complementary, from saving lives to combating smuggling rings, expanding legal options, and ensuring that those who are in need of protection can effectively access it. And that is why the approach set out in this bill is so important. We need to make it clear that illegal entry to the UK is not a shortcut to residency in this country. We need to make it clear to the people traffickers who prey on vulnerable people for profit that they will face tough sentences for bringing people illegally into this country. We need to make people think again before attempting these life-threatening crossings. That's why it's right that this bill addresses that, to make it illegal for people to arrive in UK waters without permission, which it already is, to increase the maximum sentences for people who are arriving in the country illegally from 6 months to 4 years, to make it a criminal offence to not only arrive in the UK without permission, and to introduce tough new sentences for people traffickers as well, so they know they will face lengthy prison sentences, up to life prison sentences, if they are involved in operating people trafficking rings. These are the reforms that we need. But alongside that must also go the work for safe routes, to make sure that migrants are aware and asylum seekers are aware of safe legal routes to enter this country. The Safe Route scheme that this country invested in saw more than 25,000 refugees settled in this country from 2015 to 2020. In addition to that, more than 29,000 close relatives also joined people in this country. Under the Vulnerable Persons Resettlement Scheme, working with UNHCR, we were able to identify the most vulnerable people in the most dangerous places and give them a safe route to enter this country. That's the route we want people to take, not to put their lives in the hands of people trafficking gangs to make a journey across Europe and a life-threatening journey across the Channel, but instead to work with the authorities, working in war zones, in danger zones, where we know people are displaced and need help, and to give them a safe legal route to this country, and to know that at the end of that safe legal route will be a successful asylum claim, and with it, indefinite leave to remain in the UK. That is the route we need to establish. We need to close down these illegal crossing points, which are incredibly dangerous, are profiting criminal gangs, and rightly concerning to people who live on the Kent coast as well. We need to close this route down and give people safe routes to this country and safe ways to claim asylum.